Greetings, my name is Mary Shirtleff,
And I'm Cathy Davis.
and we're with Pearls of the Soul. And today we're wanting to do a video on viruses and the mindset behind some of the viruses and how the viruses work and mutate. Cathy is an RN, and she's bridging a gap between integrative, alternative, and medical. This isn't bashing on anything, it's just very informative information. Yesterday was February 2nd, 2022, and the moon occurred in Pisces. So it's about learning to change our mindsets, learning to get rid of some of the fear, replacing it with things that we want. And one thing that we want is peace of mind and good health. And then it ends, this cycle, this portal opening ends on February 22nd, 2022 in Scorpio. And in Scorpio, it becomes habit. And so within this little time frame here, start really focusing on things that you can do health-wise and just become a little more educated on the virus and how the virus might even work. And make your own choices, move into your own future using the information that you have, cross-reference everything. And so with no other
Intro, I'm on.
intro.
Throughout the last couple of years, I've watched the fear that I think the news and the media creates. And I want to explain viruses, but I also want for you to make your own decisions. I want you to go to doctors, naturopaths, whoever makes you feel the most comfortable. I want you to be part of your medical care. And so you don't have to take what I say as gospel, but I'm going to try to weigh both sides. I am not anti-vax. I'm actually very pro-vax, but I'm also very pro-choice. The vaccine isn't for everybody, and it is up to you to make that decision. And so go to a doctor and discuss that with them if you're thinking that. But with that said, I want to tell you what a virus is. It's a very small it's hard to even see under a microscope. It is so tiny. And it is a viral bacteria that enters our bloodstream. The COVID virus responds exactly the way the cold virus responds, the exact same as the flu virus responds, very similar to the chickenpox virus. They just present themselves differently. And what a virus does is you breathe it in, and you breathe it in before you know you have it. So we're walking around Smith's, we breathe it in. It is going to go through a cloth mask. It is going to go through those blue paper masks. The only masks that are really going to give you any benefit are those N95s. Those are the thick, I don't know, they're black or white, and they're kind of really thick. Those are the only ones that may not, and I say may not because these are so tiny, that it may offer some protection related to it. So these viruses, they breathe in through our nose and mouth, and they go into our DNA. They actually enter the cell nucleus. And then what happens is, if your body recognizes this as foreign, if your immune system is good, or you've had a vaccine that has taught your immune system to recognize this, then all of a sudden your other cells, your like your immune system, your immunoglobulin cells will start replicating and fight this virus. Now here's the trick. So it goes into your DNA, it kind of eats up that cell that it's in, and it gains power by doing that, and then it replicates. So what we have to have happen is that our immune cells need to be replicating faster than our viral load, which the viral load is how fast are those cells replicating that now have the flu, a cold, COVID, chickenpox, okay, all of those things. And here's where I get on my soapbox. To really be to really have a good immune system, your lifestyle, my lifestyle, all of our lifestyle has to be very healthy. There's things that can make us sicker if you're inactive, if you have a poor diet, if you're overweight significantly. I'm not saying 10 or 20 pounds, but if you're like 50, 60, 70 pounds, this puts a strain on your heart and lungs, all those organs, and that blocks your recovery from any virus that enters your body. Also, the difference between a virus and a bacteria, why doesn't an antibiotic work on a virus? What a bacteria does, it'll go in, it'll surround your cells. It's not in the DNA. So you can take like penicillin or something and it will kill that. But the virus goes right into your DNA, destroys that cell, kills it, goes into another cell, destroys that cell, kills it, and it just multiplies. It just goes out like that. Okay, so you need a good immune system, and that is, we can do things for that, and Mary can help me on this one. I know certain, like green tea ups our immunity, ginseng ups our immunity, vitamin C ups our immunity. Can you think of things like that?
What you're describing sounds so much like, what I've been studying with the cancer studies.
It is
with the replication.
It is exactly how cancer works.
Yeah. And for me, what they told me is it wasn't necessarily the cancer they were so worried about. It was my cells learning to repair themselves. And they actually put me on melatonin.
Okay, and that may be helpful.
Yeah, and I don't know, this is just things that work for me. Talk to your medical doctor. We are not doctors. Cathy is an RN. I am whatever.
The melatonin, though, when you say that, people that don't get good sleep, their immune system suffers from that. So I would think the reason that worked would be that you're now sleeping better.
Well, they said that and this is my naturopath, that it helps with the REM sleep, and that most of cell repair happens at nighttime when you are asleep in that REM state of sleep, or I think it's Delta. There's another state. And so the melatonin, and they gave me 20 milligrams, which, I have to chuckle because I've seen these little stories out there right now that take 1 to 3, and that could be too many. It's like, holy boogers, they're giving me a heck of a lot more than that.
And that is so true. Going with what you said about cancer, we all have cancer cells, every one of us. And again, is our immune system working faster than the cancer cell?
And they have me taking Artissima, which is an antibacterial, antiviral. And it tastes nasty, but I take it with grapefruit juice, and then I take a turmeric, I take quercetin, a good multivitamin. But all of these are supposed to be, an NAC, glutathione is in it. All of these are supposed to be helping my cells to, number one,
repair
themselves so that the cancer can't invade them anymore. And, my blood tests are next week, so we'll see again. Out. But you know what? I'm not worried because I'm doing exactly what
they tell you,
what my intuition is telling me, and my naturopath is telling me, and the body does take longer to repair than if you just magic bullet it. It's not gonna, it's gonna take a while. It took a while to get where I'm at this stage of the game, and it's gonna take probably a few more months to get well.
This is where I feel so strongly about. The best thing to do is to not get sick. Now, we can't all do that, right? But we have so much control over a lot of this.
We do.
We have a lot. A lot of it's mental. Am I a healthy person? Do I behave healthy? Am I active? What are my food choices? We're all do stupid stuff. I mean, chocolate's my problem. But if most of your food is fresh,
I don't see it as a problem.
It's alive, vegetables, a high plant-based diet. You want to get a coverage of all your vitamins, because your body uses them for different things.
Mhm.
And then we want our immune system up, and especially with COVID, but with all viruses. This is what I want you to understand. COVID is not behaving different than any virus that has hit your body. Now, I get the lockdown for that first few weeks. They didn't know what the virus was going to do, so they wanted to see. But they know that it behaves like any virus that you get in your body. And there is so many things that are, how do I word this? There's so many things that are the things that are causing the death, okay? If you're over 60, then your immune system, just due to your age, just because we are getting older, things are not what they used to be, then you're more in a risk, okay? If you're obese, you're in a risk. If you have diabetes, you're in a risk. Now, the reason for that is, say you're 50 pounds overweight, you're a diabetic, and maybe you have asthma, okay? Your immune system is already stretched to the max.
Fighting it.
Yeah, and now you throw in COVID, the flu, a cold, chicken pox.
Well,
know?
the other thing too that makes people so ill is stress. And the stress of this virus and the lockdown and the isolation and just that fear is causing such an outburst of stress level. The other day I heard that teenage girls suicide rate up 50%. Cancer screenings for women down 80%.
Because they're saving the hospitals
and
for this COVID.
We can't ignore everything else in our life over one little virus. And I'm sorry if the word little bothers somebody, but we've got to look at the mind, body, spirit as a whole, and not just one vaccine and not just one virus. We've got to look at the healing aspect
of it.
And that stress level has got to be shooting, and that's part of the melatonin thing that I'm taking, was to get my stress level down, because when you are diagnosed with cancer or anything, it shoots up. And I tell you what, it shoots up fast and hard, and it brings you to your knees. And so, like I'd said in a previous video, I had to go on some
what were you on?
I don't know.
Well, it
was like lorazepam. Does that sound right?
Yeah, lorazepam. Like, it's an antidepressant, anti-anxiety.
It was anti-anxiety, but it was a really super low dose, because I told him, I don't want to get addicted to this. I want to manage it, and it did. It helped me over the hump. I took it about, I think, 20 days, or I had a 20-day supply or something. But I really had to get that stress level down. But then the other thing that I really did the most, and I think this is lacking the most, is talk to God.
Mm-hmm.
We've forgotten that God is the one that put the death tag in us. We have an expiration date, whatever that is. And no matter how hard we try or whatever, it's in there. And so I really got very close to my spiritual aspect with God. I made peace with God.
Well, and that helps our immunity if we're at peace, because we're not stressed out of our mind.
Yeah, and I've decided that, whatever happens with COVID, whatever happens with cancer, I'm okay with it. Yeah, I hope I'm here another 20 years, but it's not my choice, it's God's. I'm going to do everything that my intuition is leading me to do at this point. I want to do it my way. Mm-hmm. Contrary to a lot of flack that I'm catching on the side from other people, but it is what my heart tells me I need to do. And with COVID, it has to be the same way, or anything, diabetes, heart disease, anything like that. You've got to follow your own intuition, your own heart. You've got to research this stuff. You've got to cross-reference it. Develop a relationship with your doctor. Talk to your doctor. Don't just let him talk to you.
Tell him what makes you uncomfortable. Yeah. And the one thing that I see making a lot of stress for people, my friends will be, they can pass this asymptomatically. No kidding. You know how a virus is passed? It's passed 2 weeks before you become symptomatic.
Oh.
So a cold, the flu, chicken pox, COVID, you have the possibility of getting it or not getting it at that 2-week mark. Now, the reason that works is like, okay, is my immune system awesome? I've breathed in COVID, I've breathed in the flu, I've breathed in chickenpox. What did my immune system do? At the end of 2 weeks, you may never get it because your immune system popped up and did its job. Yeah. And the only way, and the way this is why I think, gosh, people, take your power. If you're active, if you eat well, let me go on and on. If you're getting your weight in check, if you are spiritually fed by your God, if you are, what Mary said, your intuition of what's wrong with you and what you need to do about it, and follow all of that, and go to your doctor or go to your provider and talk to them about it. Another thing that is creating panic, these tests, PCR, they're called polymerase reactive chaining. Do you know that every single virus on the planet is diagnosed by this? Okay? And what it is they've got a little litmus paper and they've got a little, I don't know, nutrient, sugar, chemical, something in there, and it will bind with virus. And then it turns the paper green or blue or whatever. And that means you have a virus. Okay, now the way we diagnose this is if someone has strep throat, does he have blisters on the back of his throat? Does he have a fever? Does he cough? You can look at this, and the nurse and the doctor, usually the chain that it works is I'd go in, look at all this, take the viral load test, hand it to the doctor, and say, he probably has strep or something. And then the doctor goes in and looks at all that and looks at the litmus paper and then orders you some whatever, like for that reason. So the way that this PCR test works is they're looking for virus and your symptoms, okay? To actually totally diagnose exactly what virus they had, this would need to be sent to a lab. They would have to look for the protein spikes. They would have to look for how it was encased. It's a long, drawn-out process that
isn't even cost effective.
And it really isn't. And so they're saying, I walk in, I can't breathe, I have a headache, I have a fever, I can't taste. Okay, you've got COVID. We'll just make sure you have a viral load. You do. Other things, they can draw your blood, and then you'll see your white blood cell go up, and that will tell us about your immune system. So it will rise really high, and that says, oh, my immune system's doing its job. It's fighting this. So I guess what I want you to take from me here today is this play-by-play they're doing on the news. Okay? It really isn't helping any of us. It's good to take the power, build your immune system, and if that means you get vaxxed. Now, I'm a vaccine girl, and I'm vaccinated. I've been vaccinated for everything because of my nursing career. But there are reasons not to do this, all right? And it's you discussing with your doctor. Mary's doctor said do not because of her cancer. Yeah. Not yet. Do it later. And here's the thing. Have you ever gone in for a vaccine and they say, do you have a fever right now? And if you say yes, you don't get your vaccine. And the reason for that is your body's immune system is fighting something. Don't throw something in there to fight also.
Yeah. Well, they told me I took one, and I asked them, and then the cancer showed up on a blood test. And so I asked them if I should take the second one because it was time. And they said that they didn't want my body fighting both. And so this is my naturopath again, not an oncologist. But he said to give it time to wait and see what happens. And I do have a trip planned to Africa in June. So I just talked to him today, and I do have to get the vaccine, which is fine. But I want to give my body time to build up immune system better. I am taking mistletoe shots that build up my immune system. I take them every other day, little injections. And, you know, it's just a matter of keeping my body healthy. And mine went down because of some stress that I encountered. And instead of resting, I wasn't even sleeping like probably 2 to 3 hours a night. I just kept pushing forward, pushing forward, pushing forward until I was totally exhausted and I knew something was wrong. And it was. And but now I feel like I'm getting back on track. But it just goes back to this fear and this stress. If you can get that stress level down and get your body to rest and develop this relationship. I'm not anti-vax either. I'm for whatever works for you. However, I do have issues with standing in line in
At
a
a
car
casino.
line and without a medical history behind you. That kind of scares me a little bit because I think this vaccine does need to be a personal choice between you and your doctor, not you and a grocery store or whatever.
Right.
And I don't think that that's being done
As much as it should be.
as diligently or
Yeah.
cautiously as it could be.
And this vaccine goes right into the DNA because the COVID virus goes right into your DNA. But again, to relieve fear, all vaccines that kill virus or test for virus or create immunity for virus has to go into your DNA. Your DNA is that double chain. Have you seen that little double chain that looks like figure eights?
It's so pretty.
And you know what it tells us? It is the map for our entire body. When I was in my mom's uterus, my DNA knew that I was going to look like this when I was 60. I wish I could have fixed that.
Don't we all?
Okay, but then the RNA is one of the chains in the DNA, but it is the messenger. So it's the one that tells us, what I'm going to look like at 10, what I'm going to look like when I'm 12. It gives that message to the rest of my body of what I'm going to look like. It also, once something enters your DNA, like the flu, it starts changing the cells in your body. And that's why you have to hit that nucleus, okay? So are we hitting it with our own immune system, with a vaccine, with, again, like Mary said, you hit it the way you want to hit it. But I cannot stress enough, this is where I hang out in life. Don't wait till there's a pandemic to get healthy. Get healthy now. Because here's the difference. Like, we had the flu pandemic in what, 20? It was
2020.
And it was 1920.
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah. And we went to 100 years and then one hit. I don't know. Are we going to go 100 years again, or is it going to be 10 years or 15? We don't know. So no time like the present to get our whole mind, body, and spirit in health. And you're never going to be completely healthy. But if you wake up, like Mary spends an hour and a half a day exercising, I do about an hour, and then I'll go on long walks that they're not aerobic, but I walk everywhere. You know what I mean? But then our diet, and then our mental, where we don't be depressed. Try to focus on positive. Not like here's what COVID did for me. I love going to clean bathrooms. You know what I mean? All of a sudden stores are cleaning their bathrooms.
Yeah.
I love that when you go to work.
Buffets are being cleaned.
Yeah. And, in the old days, I'd call it, I'm so damn sick. And my boss would be like, get in here, we're short.
Right.
I can't do that anymore.
Now you just say, I have a sniffle.
Yeah. And
I don't feel well.
And I think COVID has done that for us. And that is amazing. And if we can start to look at what's good about COVID, right? You know what I mean? We're getting healthy. COVID has taught us to be healthy.
And I do. I think that I can't stress this enough, Cathy, and I know you too, about really going back and getting our immune system. You cannot isolate an immune system from germs and expect it to recognize the germs later.
No.
And so you have to
breathe that crap
minimally expose yourself, good hygiene, and, really work on it. Like I said, I've got one vaccine, and I did have something go on a couple weeks ago that I'm not sure what it was. I gave it, I think I might have given it to my grandkids, but, it was a severe head cold and throat stuff. And, And I actually did call my naturopath, and he did put me on some ivermectin and a Z-Pack just as a precaution, but it didn't get worse. Didn't, it just kind of ran its course as a little cold, but for me, it's about building my immune system up now and
Right
getting
now.
myself healthy, and so I can stay healthy.
And there are antivirals that doctors can prescribe. And here's the kicker. What they do is slow the replication of the virus down. It doesn't kill it like an antibiotic. It just slows it down so that your good cells can overtake the bad. So again, it is so important with a virus that you have to be healthy rolling into this. You don't want hundreds of secondary conditions, because that just puts a strain on your body.
Yeah.
So if you have secondary conditions, work on them. I mean, you can't make them go away. A lot of them are there to stay. Like Mary's always going to have that DNA predisposition for cancer.
Yeah, it's like a time bomb now, but it's one that I can manage. And actually with the supplements I'm taking, some of these are actual cancer killers. So I'm hoping to one day that this is gone, killed, but I'm always going to have that Petri pot that it can come back.
Something you have to pay attention to.
And so I've always got to watch that. And some of mine was laziness, stress level, didn't move around.
Let me say this. I think sickness is our laziness.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just got lazy. It was easy.
We have predispositions for things that are in our DNA. But if we know what they are, my family likes to die of congestive heart failure. That's what we have, strokes and that. So it would be total suicide for me to be very overweight, because that's how that plaque is created. I mean, we have a DNA that just takes that stuff and lines our circulatory system with it. So, and there's other people that can eat bacon every morning and they're 100 pounds and their body gets rid of it. Mine doesn't do that. So I have to really look at a high plant diet.
Yeah. I think genetics plays such a role. I know people who drink and smoke and live to 100. And I know other people that drop dead at 30 that eats avocados every hour.
Yeah, they're just vegetarians.
And it's like, it's just, again, it goes down to that little death tag that's in the back of our
body.
Pineal gland that says, okay.
But we can make it better. Like, we can't make the death date go away, but we can.
I've seen my death date.
That's cool.
It's 2038.
We got to, well, I hope I'm gone before then.
Because mine's, I think it's like 85 years old.
Because I need my friend, so you know.
No, it's so funny because I have seen that tag, because I went in looking one day just, in this meditation, and I went, oh, because somebody said that there could be two, and I only saw the one. And
I've always intuitively thought I will live to be 77. That's my intuition thought, but
yeah, it's crazy.
But for my family, that's one hell of a long life.
It's a long life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mom lived to be 89. My dad was only 68, but he smoked and heavy smoker, heavy drinker, and he did the job of a 20-year-old man instead of a 68-year-old man. So it's a matter of mindsets and lifestyles again. And I'm Mary.
And I'm Cathy. And go take control of your health.
Yes.
And don't be afraid. Yay!
Thank you.